Asante sana kwa kunikaribisha.
Leo Madam Joyce, umesema tuambie watu mambo na depression na suicide.
Yes. Actually, jana usiku kwa news.
Exactly.
Walimu wanne from Nyamira. Actually, they are saying 4 teachers from a place called Borabu.
Yeah, Borabu.
In the last 1 month, 4 teachers have committed suicide.
So bad.
It's so sad. It is so sad. Can you imagine teachers committing suicide? Na hawa ni watu ambao wanaelewa. What of if wale ambao hawaelewi? What of if wale ambao hawajasoma? So depression is real. Depression is real. Suicide ideations are real. And they are not only ideations. You can already see there are some people that are actualizing that act of killing themselves or, you know, taking their own lives. So it's very important for us to talk about depression and suicide. Depression and suicide affects everyone. As you can see, it affects teachers, it affects students, it affects ladies, it affects men, it affects every person in the society. So it is very important for us to talk about depression and suicide. It's a student actually requested me to talk about depression and suicide today.
Wow, so amazing. That's so good.
Yeah, that is why I'm here.
And of course, unajua haichagui namna ambavyo madam umesema. Hata si walimu peke yake, even so a doctor.
Yes.
The same place, Kisii actually, not Kisii.
Yes.
Akaja nini kujitia kitanzi because of salary issues.
Even professors do so. Even professors kill themselves.
But what is this suicide? What is this depression, madam? Najua aje niko na depressed. Najua aje naelekea hapo.
Okay. Now, depression is a mood disorder. Depression is a mood disorder, and it is characterized by sadness. It is characterized by loss. It is characterized by feeling of emptiness, feeling of, you know, it's like you really cannot make or cannot have normal day-to-day activities. And this sadness, this mood feeling low, it goes on for more than a month. It goes on for more than a month, even a year, and so on. Then when it persists like that, the feeling of hopelessness, the feeling of, you know, worthlessness, the feeling of pain, you know, pain which you really don't know where it's coming from, sadness which is really, you know, immense, it now graduates into suicidal ideation. When you feel hopeless, you start feeling, now what's my use? You know, am I useful in this society? I'm not important in any way. And then therefore you start feeling like you can as well die, or you had better if you died. So it graduates into suicidal ideations, and then finally there are people who go through it and they actually commit suicide. So that is depression in a nutshell. Of course, you know, suicide is taking your own life, or someone taking their own life. That again is suicide. And yes, there are signs of depression.
Exactly.
There are signs of depression.
What are these signs?
Someone can be able to know that they are having depression. Like when I'm talking about sadness for longer days. Sadness for longer days, months. You know, under normal circumstances, these feelings that I'm talking about are normal feelings under normal circumstances.
Exactly.
These signs that I'm talking about are normal signs of if there is something that has happened in someone's life. But they are supposed to end after a short while. They're not supposed to prolong for a longer period of time. Like when we talk about sadness for a longer time. Sadness, maybe in a day you can feel sad for because maybe of news that you have received or something that you have been told, you can feel sad, but it's supposed to end after haifai kuwa refu. So that's what a sign. Sadness for longer time, feelings of hopelessness. You are just hopeless. Huna tumaini. You know, there are kuna mambo mazuri around you, hata wengine wanasema I wish I was you, but we huoni kile. Unasikia tu you are feeling hopeless. There are those that cry, you know, under, you know, for no proper reason. They just feel like crying. Wanalia, kama ni usiku wanalia, the feeling of emptiness. They just cry and cry and cry.
So crying can be a problem.
Yes, if it persists, it can be a problem. Then there is the feeling of anger. You are probably angry with something that happened to you, maybe in your past. Something that probably happened several years back. You are still angry several years later. You are still angry at that. We have something like loss of interest in daily activities. Wengine wanaamka kwenda darasa, wewe umelala,
hauna interest,
una interest,
na hakuna kazi unafanya,
huna interest, you know, you have low energy levels. Low energy levels to an extent that mtu ambaye alikuwa anaongea na sauti anaanza kuwhisper. Anaanza kuongea na low, you know, sauti yake iko chini sana. Low energy levels, you know, loss of interest in daily activities, difficulty making decisions and even concentrating. A simple decision they cannot be able to decide. Sleeping difficulties, where either someone sleeps too much or someone does not sleep at all. Someone has insomnia or someone sleeps too much. Something is surely wrong.
We have pia ni shida,
too much.
Sikupumzika madam tena.
Unajua kuna mahali ukilala, usingizi kuna mahali unaisha. Sasa kama wako auishi mpaka uamuke, you know, there is something wrong. Yeah, actually, you are saying, I don't want to wake up at all. The feeling of I don't want to wake up, the feeling of when you wake up in the morning, you ask yourself, you mean I'm still alive? You know, I wish I continued to do what? I continued to sleep. So too much of sleep or very little sleep. Loss of appetite. Loss of appetite can be a sign of depression or too much appetite.
Unakula sana.
Ama unakula sana. You know, there are some people who, when they are depressed, they find a solution in eating.
Food.
Actually, even okay, under normal circumstances, when you're not feeling very good, some people. I had a friend of mine who told me, wakikosana na bwanake, anaenda town, anaitisha kuku, anaitisha chips.
But that can that be one way of
course, of dealing with it. So after that, she feels good. Wow. And she goes back, you know, she feels very okay. So either loss of appetite, these people are not eating, or too much eating can also be a sign of depression. We also have feelings of immense guilt. You know, we all make mistakes at one time or another. We all make mistakes. Hakuna mtu mwenye hajawahi kukosea. Unakosea, tunakosea kwa njia moja ama lingine. Some people make major mistakes. You know, major mistakes in lives, they are there. But you know, you feel guilty, yes, at that particular moment. But that guilt should pass at some time, at some point. It should be able to pass to help you to live a normal life. So that you look back and say, yes, I made that mistake, but, you know, I shouldn't have made that. But then your life is going on. But now there are some people, when they make a mistake, they have immense guilt. They are not able to move from that guilty feeling and to move on to something else. Then we have another sign is psychosomatic disorders. Psychosomatic disorders are like you are feeling pain and you are complaining of some kind of sickness, but when you go to the doctor checks you, you really don't have any sickness. And actually, in the hospital, a number of people complain of pains and aches. They don't have pains and aches. It is a kind of depression here and there.
Can it be healed?
Yes, it can be healed. It can be healed. Because I've said when depression goes on for a long time, it turns into suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideations. And some people go into self-harm. Self-harm. You know, someone, there are people who cut themselves. That's depression. They cut themselves, they bleed, people who self-harm. There are those who even hit themselves against things, against the wall, against what, just to feel the pain. There are people who hit the wall. There are people, all those self-harm tendencies is also a sign of depression.
Madam, sometimes people who hurt you, or sometimes people who cause depression, they are close friends, families.
Okay.
Or even institutions. Amata kazi.
That is true.
How are we dealing with this? If by any chance kuna mtu anatusikiliza
kama
ni mwanafunzi.
There is something that I always say. Which sometimes may not be okay, maybe someone may not want to hear about it. You cannot control people you cannot control other people. But you can be able to control yourself. You cannot be able to control other people's actions towards you, but you can be able to control your own reaction and the way you look at those particular things. You can be able to look at them. You cannot be able to control an institution that makes a decision that ends up hurting you. even sometimes sometimes the government makes decisions and they affect you.
Exactly.
They totally affect you, and you really feel like now my life is over because maybe the government has stopped something that you were probably relying on. Like recently when the government stopped the sale of they didn't stop the fuel, but they increased the price. They increased the price. So someone can get depression because of that. They cannot be able to afford. But I'm talking about scrap metal. The government stopped the selling of scrap metal. You know, there could be someone who was really depending on the scrap metal. But the government has stopped that. Do you become depressed? Do you become suicidal? Do you kill yourself because the government has stopped? So you may not be able to control someone. You may not be able to control what other people do and make decisions for, but you can be able to control yourself by looking at things in a different way. So we will look at some of those things that can help you to be able to be objective in the way you look at things, and you are able now to deal with that particular issue. Let me use an example of a college student.
Exactly.
A university student. We have seen university students or college students that have killed themselves over or have become, they are depressed. Some of them don't even attend classes. You realize someone is not attending classes, or you realize someone is actually depressed because of probably a relationship which is not working. Now, you may not control your partner or your spouse. Manake huwezi mfungia na kamba pale. Akisema hii relationship is over,
hata ende.
There's nothing you can do. Okay, is there anything you can do when someone tells you this relationship is over? Is there anything you can do? The best you can do is to try and reason with them, try and tell them it's not as bad as you're thinking, I will change. If they are complaining about you, I'll change and so on. But they may insist and still say, I am going. Okay? So you who has been left, what do? Do you become depressed? Do you become like, the world has come to an end? Do you become that hopeless? You need to reason. You need to sit down and count the facts, okay? This relationship has ended, yes. But is there a possibility of having another relationship in future when you are healed? When the closure has happened and you are completely healed, is there a possibility of getting another relationship? Of course, the answer is yes. The answer is very much yes. But at that particular moment when they are thinking about that situation, they feel like there is no way out. This relationship has ended, my life has ended.
But having talked about that, madam,
yes.
You've already suffered this. You've already umepata depression zako,
yes.
Kila kitu now post-recovery.
Yes, yes.
It is not so easy to forget things zenye ulipenda, they are gone. Things you did. Ama mtu alikufanyia something bad. It is not easy. Kuongea inaweza kuwa rahisi. But it is not easy to forget, madam. The post-recovery of depression.
Yes.
How do you recover even after miaka 10? Kuna watu wanakumbuka. Things happened. Now it's 20 years.
You know what?
But they're hunting you.
You know what happens? You cannot erase your memory. Memory will always be there. You will always think about good things that happened to you or bad things that happened to you. But you okay, that's now when we are talking about depression. When you think about these things, if there were traumatic experiences, you become depressive, or you don't move away from that particular pain or away from that particular joy. That's when we are saying someone is depressed because of thinking about the good things that went and they cannot be able to recover about them. So a normal human being who does not have mental health problems, because depression is a mental health problem. Depression tells you things that are not real or they are not normal. Depression tells you, why you are left is because you are not good enough. That's what depression tells you. That's what your mind tells you. And that's why we are saying depression is a mental health problem. That is not the reason why the relationship did not work. So that's why I'm saying there is a way you can be able to deal with some of these things or some of these episodes of feeling sad or feeling depressed or feeling empty. There is a way. There is a way you can be able to deal with them so that you can be able to live a normal life. But remembering, Chacha, you will remember. Remembering and even wishing, I wish it had worked. It was really good, but I wish it had worked. But then it should end there. It should not give you a depressive mood. or it should not make you depressed, such that you are not able to move, you're not able to continue, you're not able to relate with somebody else. A day at a time. You take a day at a time. Of course, we will see some of the ways to deal with depression, but you take a day at a time. Depression, mental health problems, especially surrounding depression, tells you, like now, if I call you, Chacha, and then you don't pick your call. And a normal person will say, maybe Chacha ako mbali na simu, ndio maana haja chukua, you know. But someone who has a mental health issue will say, Chacha hataki kuchukua simu yangu. Nimekuwa nikimpigia tangu jana, hajachukua. Kwa nini achukui simu yangu? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe what? You know, anajipatia a
assumptions.
Anajipatia assumptions which give them a mental health problem. They don't just assume they will call back when they are able to call back. You know, or they will tell themselves negative things about themselves. They will say, I'm not good enough. He hates me. Everybody hates me. Then you bring in everybody. Even I called the other person. They didn't, take my call, and so on. So they bring in so many negative things that now affect them.
You're always thinking about negative thing, dear listener. I think you should change. This is the right time for you to change.
Yes.
And of course, a family, madam ameongelea na friends. Madam, kuna kitu ya friends.
Yes.
You know, sometimes friends might make you uko depressed sana, hata kuliko hiyo depression yenyewe. How do you avoid this kind of friends? Rafiki ni yangu, lakini kitu ananipea tu kila wakati stress.
Last time we talked about toxic relationships.
Should we block them in our lives? Watoke.
I don't know whether blocking will give you joy or it will help you to heal, but there is a way. When I was talking about facts, sitting down and giving facts. Why is this relationship hurting you? Why is it hurting you? What is it that they are doing that is making you feel depressed? What is it that they are doing? You need to note it down. It needs to be very clear in your mind that these are the things that they are doing that are making me feel depressed. Then ukishaziandika chini, jiulize the feelings. What are your feelings towards these things that they are doing that are not making you happy? Then after that, jiulize whether you want to go through that or you want to come out of that relationship. So you have to take down facts. Again, you don't do blanket or globalization. You know, the way sometimes women say men are the same. Men are like that. Women are like that. You know, men also say women are like that. Exactly. That's one way of getting depressed. Because now if you have a relationship that didn't work and now you're looking at all men in the same way, you will never relate with another man. So don't put it blanket. Don't say, my friends are making me depressed. What is it that is making you depressed? What is it that they are doing that is making you depressed? While I was seated there, I was just reading a Facebook post, and one that guy was saying that when he went to secondary school as a Form 1, he's talking to Form 1s who have reported. Then he says there were all those small bullings like vitu zako zimeibiwa, bullings like huna karai, unaenda kuoga na sijui some pill that I don't know is looking what, bullings like someone comes picks your water, umechota imejaa anakuja anabeba, bullings like unaosha nguo, mwingine anakuja hapo anakuwekea nguo zote uoshe, and so on. And then he's saying the worst was one guy who was forcing him to take a cigarette. That was the worst bullying for him. And he says, I avoided this guy like a plague. Yani every time akimwona anakuja this side, naye anatoroka kukimbia this other side. So yes, if that one can work for you to avoid friends that are depressive, then it is okay.
Toroka.
Okay, madam, tukimalizia. There is a way.
Tukimalizia the first bit of this. Kuna kitu uliongea kwamba mtu akininia alienda kakula kuku. And of course kuna wengine wanasema mimi nikikuwa depressed kidogo, nitachapa pombe kidogo, ama nitakunywa coffee, ama nitafanya hivi. Hizi vitu ambazo tunafanya after.
By the end of it, tutakuwa tumeimprove dopamine levels in our bodies. Kuna chemicals inaitwa dopamine in our bodies. And when you do something you like dancing, like going to the gym, like, doing some activity that, you really like, it gives you a thrill, it gives you a wow, an excitement. It raises the dopamine levels in the body. And when you have better levels of dopamine in the body, you feel good.
Okay, sometimes
when you feel good, you don't have depression anymore.
Yeah, sometimes the way I deal with the depression,
it
is very different with the way you deal
kama
with
ile
depression.
Unasema about drinking,
Sasa mbona mimi yangu ikuwe nzuri ya mwingine ikuwe mbaya? Sometimes people might ask that. Mbona mimi kusikiza muziki it is good, but kukunywa pombe it is mbaya, ama kukunywa pombe it is good, but kusikiliza muziki
kuna those activities that are not harmful. There are those activities that are not harmful, and those ones we encourage. But there are those activities that are harmful, that if you do them, instead of solving the problem that you have, you add more problems. Like now taking alcohol. Alcohol in itself is a depressive substance abuse. It's actually a depressive one. So when you take alcohol at that particular time, you may forget temporarily the problems that you're facing, but immediately you become sober. What do you realize? You realize that you have added more problems on top of the problem that was making you depressed. So you've spent the only money that you had.
Yeah.
That's already a problem. Probably in the course of drinking, you've done things because alcohol inhibits reasoning. It inhibits reasoning, that when you are under the influence of alcohol, you don't reason properly.
Yeah.
You don't reason objectively. So when you're under the influence of alcohol, there are things that you may have done that are now, when you become sober, you realize the things that you did, they add more stress. It removes the inhibition. There are some people, when they are under the influence of alcohol, they fight. Others, they abuse. Others, they enter or engage in unprotected sex. And so there are many things that people do under the influence of alcohol. So if you are running to alcohol to solve your problems,
yes,
you realize that when you become sober, there are more problems than you had before. So it is not a solution to going to solving it's not a solution to solving a depressive mood. Actually, one of the things that causes depression is substance abuse. That's one of the things that causes depression. Substance abuse makes those who are predisposed. Okay, under normal circumstances, there are people who may not go into depression. And there are people who are predisposed, or they are they have risk factors, or they are risk factors, they can be able to get depression, either because of even their family, where they come from. We have families where maybe parents are depressed, their children are also likely to be depressed. So such a child, if this child takes alcohol or drugs, other drugs like weed and other drugs, they are likely to become depressive. Because they are already, there is some, not really genetic tendency, but some predisposition to depression. That's why even sometimes when you go to a therapist and you are depressed, they ask you who in your family is depressed. And you may find, if you are depressed, maybe your father was depressed. If you are depressed, maybe your sister is also depressed, and so on. We've even had people who commit suicide, even in a family. You find the father committed suicide, 2 of his children have also committed suicide. Why? There is a there is a risk factor. They are predisposed to that kind of thinking and to that kind of behavior. So taking drugs, taking alcohol is not a solution to depression. It's not a solution.
Some think like the next part of our discussion, suicide is the solution to the problems. But as you always say,
yes,
this is a permanent solving.
A permanent, solving a problem with a permanent solution, and yet it's a temporary problem. Solving a temporary problem with a permanent solution. So it is not a solution. Actually, suicide is escapism. You are escaping. You are escaping reality, and you are escaping reality, and you are leaving behind people who are going to be so hurt, people who are going to be so frustrated, people who are going to be depressed by your living. You are escaping. Wewe umejitoa, lakini umeacha kule nyuma other people that are going to hurt because of you killing yourself. So it is not a solution. It is not a solution at all. Yes. Now, Chacha, I want to talk just briefly about causes of depression.
Exactly.
What causes depression? One of the things that causes depression is chemical imbalance. There are some chemicals in our body that promote good feelings, that promote pleasurable feelings, happiness, love, and so on. Like the one that I've mentioned, dopamine.
Yeah.
Dopamine is a chemical in our body that it helps us feel good, it gives us motivation, it gives us the good feeling, okay? There is another chemical also called serotonin, which is also a mood stabilizer. It also helps you stabilize your moods, helps you in your well-being, helps you feeling happy, and so on. Oxytocin is a chemical that even helps you love other people.
Wow.
Bonding, trust.
Mtu anaweza kosa hiyo.
Mtu akikosa hiyo yake inaweza kuwa mbaya sana. Inaweza kuwa mbaya sana. So oxytocin helps you to be able to trust, to be able to bond, to be able to love other people. Endorphin helps you in pain relief. It's its own body. The body itself, when you are in pain, endorphin comes and soothes you or makes you become relaxed. Even sometimes go to sleep. It makes you feel, it's not as bad as it looks. So
right.
we have these chemicals in our bodies that do this kind of thing. So if there is an imbalance in these chemicals in the body, then we go into depressive mood. That's why I was saying those who use drugs, they play with dopamine. They increase dopamine in the body unnaturally. That's not natural. It's supposed to be naturally produced, and there are some foods that can help produce this, like magnesium. There are some foods when you eat, they help you to increase your dopamine, even sugar, but don't eat a lot of it. So those people who use drugs, they play with these chemicals. They actually interfere with the normal production of these chemicals. That is why when they are not in those drugs, they feel completely hopeless.
Because mwili imezoea.
Mwili imezoea. Kwa hivyo hawana hizi chemicals za kuwapatia motivation. Ndio nasikia mwingine akiwa mlevi anaamka asubuhi kwenda kutoa lock. Ile lock ni ya kusaidia sasa
mwili ikuwe sawa.
Mwili ikuwe sawa. So there is that interference of those chemicals in the body that now brings depressive mood. Another chemical imbalance is actually not a chemical, hormonal imbalance, like estrogen, progesterone, when there is an imbalance in the body, especially for the females. That's why you hear a lady is nearing the normal cycle, and their moods, not the normal mood. Then we have menopause. People who have gone into menopause also, there is a lot of imbalance of hormones. So this person is either irritable,
So this can change according to age.
It can change according to age. It can change according to age, especially for the females, where we have the estrogen and we have the progesterone. Then we have also postpartum, someone who has given birth. Normal thing, just giving birth. It can give you depression, postpartum depression. So we have imbalance of chemicals in the body. We have the hormonal imbalance in the body that can lead to depression. We have family history, just the way I've told you, predisposition. You are at risk. If you have members in your family that have had depression, you are at risk. And this family history can also be things like bipolar, things like schizophrenia. There are families that are affected by bipolar, which is a mental health problem. Then we have traumas. Traumatic events can also lead to depression. Traumatic events are the ones that now we are talking about when we say umeachwa na girlfriend, umeachwa na boyfriend, and the relationship was very good and now it is not there anymore. Unaanza kulia, unaanza kukataa kwenda class, unaanza kukataa kula, unafikiria now you can kill yourself if these people have left you. And then we also have loss or death of loved one. It is also a cause of depression. You lose a loved one and you cannot move on. You cannot move on. You try to move on, you cannot. You have sadness, you are bereaved, you are mourning, and you mourn excessively. You just become depressed. Traumatic events or accidents, traumatic events, accidents, and so on. And for students also, Sometimes you have things like elections. Other than relationships, we have things like even elections. A student loses elections and become mentally
spending a lot of money.
spend a lot of money.
Lost.
Yeah, and then some. Not only students. Even now we are in the period of election. Those who are vying, they need to know there are two results.
The aftermath.
And there are two results. Either you win or you
lose.
If they go with the mentality that they can never lose, and then they lose,
you are mentally tortured.
And if they cannot go through that, sometimes they get mental health problems. Then we have some parts of our brains, if they are affected or they are injured, we can have a problem, like the frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is the one that deals with decision making, deals with rationality. Rational, you are a rational being. You are a rational human being. And someone said that the frontal lobe does not fully develop until you are after 25 years. So please, if you are a student, avoid making some major decisions at this time. Because maybe the frontal lobe is not completely developed. And then other medical conditions, like I've mentioned them, the bipolar, untreated diseases. If some people who get untreated diseases or diseases that are terminal, they may also get depression, like cancer, like HIV, like any untreatable disease can lead to mental health problem of that particular person, and that particular person may become depressed because of that. And then of course substance abuse normally leads to mental health problems. You find someone who was very well starts using drugs, and then they don't want to wake up, they don't want to go to class, they don't want, if you enter their room, you wonder whether there is a human being that lives there. Initially they were neat, they were clean and so on, but now they don't clean, they don't do anything, they just jump wherever they jump, they sleep, they have no motivation for life. They have no motivation for life. So again, substance abuse also leads to depression, or can cause depression. So those are some of the reasons. There may be many, but those are some of the reasons that I want to look at. And of course, there is treatment.
Can it be treated?
Yes.
How?
It can be treated. In short, there is hope. In short, there is hope. In short, if anybody is going through depressive moods, depressive tendencies, there is hope. There is a way out. There is a way out, and there are coping mechanisms. There are coping mechanisms. Even if it may not be totally treated, but there are coping mechanisms. In short, you can live a fulfilling life even when you have that depression. You can live a fulfilling life.
Do your office offer this, Madam Joyce, especially during this time that students are battling with elections, and especially for our single mothers, Madam Joyce? We have single mothers in the campus and maybe around, wale ambao wali kibahati nzuri ama kibahati mbaya walipata mtoto, si ndio? But now the fathers, irresponsible fathers, wakao, si mimba yangu, they're no longer there. Do your office offer any help, either mentally, to these kind of people?
Actually, what I normally see, not only my office, but the society currently is dealing with these issues. The institutions, almost very many institutions have employed counselors, have employed psychologists to be able to deal with these mental issues or psychological issues. So yes, our office deals. We have counselors that are able to deal with mental health issues. We have counselors both male and female. We have counselors that are motherly, like me, and we have counselors that are young. So it depends on who you want to see. There is a solution, and there is hope for any student that is going through depressive moods. For students that have become mothers at a young age, and they are also finding that they were not ready for it, because either the young man has disappeared or so, there is hope. There is even a group of young mothers. There's a group, yes. Wow. There is a group of young mothers where they meet and they talk, they encourage each other, and they also different people come to talk to them on different issues, so that they can manage and they can be able to live a normal life. What I want to say is that any young lady that has a child out of wedlock, they should not feel excessively like okay, they are justified to feel whatever they are feeling. But what I want to say is that if you have given birth to your child, give yourself a pat on your back, because there are many that have become pregnant and they have aborted. Who is better? The one who has aborted or the one who has carried the baby? Definitely the one who has carried the baby. But now, because people see the baby, they see this one as Uyu Aliza. You know? How many others that have not given birth and probably have aborted? And even those ones, they go through mental health issues. Let them also visit the counselor's offices and they will actually be counseled. So yes, we have a solution. Yes, we have a way to help them to cope. Anybody who is going through depressive moods. And other than our office, because like now I know there are people who are listening and they are not students. We also have we have counseling offices also, even in town. Like if I talk about Chuka Town. Chuka Town, we have a counseling center called Wellness Center in Chuka Town. We have another one called Grafford's Counseling and Training Center, again in Chuka Town at Ushirika Plaza, ground floor. And the Wellness Center is opposite, or used to be opposite where Absa Bank used to be, opposite there. There is a wellness center there. Other than that, if they don't want to visit someone physically, they can also call. There is the Befrienders Kenya. It's a non-governmental organization. Befrienders Kenya. Befrienders Kenya, you can call them free of charge. Their number is 0722 17 81 77. Wow. They are even there in the website. I mean, if you go through to the internet and you Google Befrienders Kenya, you'll be able to find them. Actually, if you type the word suicide, Befrienders Kenya will come. The first one, it will come there. So solution ni mingi, na kama tuko na time I can take you through some of the solutions, but those are some of the areas that they can go, or some of the centers that they can go. The Befrienders Kenya they can call, a wellness center in Chuka they can go, Grafford's counseling and trauma center, they can also go there and they can be able to get help. Now, other than the therapy, because like now the places that I'm referring them to is therapy. Yeah. Other than therapy, we also have treatment.
Yes.
Some people who have these depressive moods, they're given medication, which is antidepressants. Antidepressants, or they are able to be given some medicine that can help them. Now, we need to note that the antidepressants have some side effects. The antidepressants have side effects. So it's very important for people to develop other coping mechanisms other than the medicine. They need to develop other coping mechanisms, and they can develop that by visiting therapists or talking to counselors, psychological counselors. And the psychological counselors can use different approaches because again the reasons for depression are different. Like we have said, some people are depressed because of relationship breakdown. Exactly. Some people are depressed because they lost their loved ones. Some people are depressed because probably they are predisposed. Maybe even in their family there are people who have had a depression before. So the therapist will be able to guide and also work on their internal orientation. Working on the internal orientation means like looking at your subjective thinking. You know, some of the things that make us depressed is the way we look at things. Subjective to me. I am thinking this is the way. Like the one I was giving you an example. If your girlfriend calls you and you don't pick, and then they start telling themselves, why is he not picking? He must be with another lady. He must be doing this. Maybe he's rejected me. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe, you know now that is subjective. Red flag. That is subjective. So the counselor will deal with this internal orientation. You as a person, how do you think through issues? How do you think through issues? Do you think about them in a negative way, or are you able to reason in a more objective way? There is subjective and there is objectivity. So the counselor will also look at the stress generation. What is it that is causing you Stress. You know, what is it that is causing you stress? Maybe it is making the wrong decisions. Maybe it is investing money in businesses that are not clear, like the pyramid schemes, like gambling. You know, sometimes students are depressed because
wamebet.
Wamebet. You know,
Sorry for that.
walikuwa na hope ya kama sahi we are opening the university. The students have reported there are some students who will keep the fees na seme mimi nitabet hii alafu ikuje ikiwa nyingi alafu itoke
Having talked about that, madam, nimeona we have less than 6 minutes.
We have less than 6 minutes. Okay.
Kuna mambo na gender.
Yes.
You know, sometimes hii kitu ina affect men,
yes,
according to me, sana kuliko women, because na feel like they don't want to express themselves hardcore.
Imagine
ati mimi ni hardcore, hii kitu hainiwezi.
Imagine
Gender, madam.
Imagine research has been done and more women suffer depression than men. Yes.
Na ironically now, that is it.
Yes, ironically
now, what is happening now?
It is
why
it
women
is
are not men? Naondo wanaongea wanasema
I think also because of our hormonal imbalances. I think women are more predisposed to depression. Now, even when we say that, the effects of depression on women and men, for men, is more serious than for women, because as much as women are more predisposed to depression, they talk. They are able to talk. So when they are able to talk, you can find maybe 5 women have depression and they are talking about it. They turn here, they say, they turn the other side. And when they do that, they are able to relieve that stress. They are able to say, hey, I need help. Hey, this is what is going on. Then sikuzuri. You know, they are talking about it. But how about men?
Kimya kirefu.
Yeah. So even if there are fewer men that suffer depression, the effects on men is more serious than the effect on women. Yeah, it's more serious on men, because men now, as we are saying, they may not talk much about it. They may not talk much about it. Yes.
That is it now, madam. Kumalizia to emotional intelligence. Is there kuna mtu anaona mimi I'm so intelligent to this. How do we deal with this emotional intelligence?
Actually, emotional intelligence helps us to deal with so many things, including these depressive moods. Because emotional intelligence is being aware of your own feelings and being aware of other people's feelings. So if you're aware of your own feelings and you're aware of other people's feelings, number 1, you will not hurt them. Number 2, you will not hurt yourself.
Exactly.
Because you will be aware of your emotions. By the way, Chacha, it's very good to be aware of your emotions or to have emotional intelligence, because under normal circumstance, every day, there are things that may make you feel low here and there. You need to trace back. You are aware. Self-awareness. Emotional intelligence. You are aware. I am feeling that little sadness. What is it that is making me feel that little sadness? So you start tracing your way back. Like now, from morning, maybe I woke up, I prepared breakfast. I went to Chacha's breakfast show. Maybe, whom did I meet? Who made me feel like, or what discussion, or what talk, or what word, or what is it that was said to me, or what did I say that has made me feel low? So yes, emotional intelligence is very, very key in dealing with some of these mental health issues.
Do to others what you need them to do for you. Kwa sababu these si meeting cause stress, si meeting inasababisha.
And what I want to say, and what someone said, is that what is broken can be mended. What hurts can be healed.
Wow.
And no matter how dark it is, the sun is going to rise again.
Wow.
So let's not lose hope.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. It will be better.
Your last one.
Take a day at a time. It will be better.
Itakuwa sawa.
Itakuwa sawa.
Amazing.
Yes.
That is Madam Joyce Mghoi. Itakuwa sawa.
Itakuwa sawa.
May every year inakuwaga ni mwezi wa mental health and tarehe 1 mpaka tarehe 31 ya mwezi wa May kila mwaka inakuwaga ni mwezi ya mental health issues.
Ndio maana tunaongea about mental health issues. Na ziko nyingi mental health issues. Actually, Chacha, my cry goes out for young people who get mental health issues. Number 1, because of drugs. and number 2 because of relationships not working. That's why you've seen we have talked about toxic relationships, and we are talking about depression. Why? Because it will be better. Don't solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution. Give yourself time. It will be better. Look for the right people to talk to. It will be better.
Itakuwa sawa.
Itakuwa sawa.
Itakuwa sawa.
Yes.
Amazing sana. Akimaliza ni Madam Joyce Mghoi, jamani. Thank you very much, Madam Joyce.
Karibu sana.
It has been so amazing.
Karibu
and
sana.
I believe wamesikia.
Yes.
Amesema hello CJ, good morning. Na kupata leo na clear kutoka Mungu. Ninasema ni asante sana. The show is amazing. Nimeenjoy the discussion.
Thank you.
Anasema hello jamani, good morning. Na kupata kutoka Chuka Town. Show iko sawa sana. I have really enjoyed it. Now I know how to deal with the problems and the depressions.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Salimia sana Madam Joyce. Mimi ni Joy kutoka Mitheru. Nasema show iko sawa sana. The discussion is so amazing. Consider doing it again and again.
Thank you.
Wow, there are too many Madam Joyce Mghoi. Na wale wote jamani ambao wameingia ndani. Victor na kucheki, thank you very much jamani. Na wale wengine ambao wameingia, asante sana. Anasema habari ya asubuhi CJ. Thank you very much. I'm always encouraged with the Tuesday vibes.
Yes.
Wow,
Thank you. Now, Touch of Grace KE. If they have missed this, they will watch it in Touch of Grace KE, a YouTube channel. And when they get there, let them subscribe, let them share, let them like, let them leave a comment.
Have some fun.
Na pia watuambie what next. I mean, which other topic do they want us to handle?
This is inakuwaga ni really issues ambazo zinaku affect Tuesday 8 to 9.
Yes.
Sicheze mbali, have some fun, no stress.
Thank you.